Assisted reproduction is one of the topics that will become huge going forward. First off, read this disclaimer carefully and do your good deed of today by liking and subscribing. When we look here at, the S&P 500, it is literally down only 2% here from the highs. Notwithstanding that, there's some panic, in the market, that, the Fed must step in. And that just goes to show you how extremely dependent the market has become on just eternal stimulus. Yeah. Pretty ridiculous. But anyway, let's jump into one of the most interesting megatrends. So assisted reproduction, 114% here from the low. But, there's been an average minus 24% pullback. So these are the companies in the theme. We will look at INVO Bioscience, which is just the 41% here from the low and has had the biggest haircut. So the reason why assisted reproduction is going to be a very huge topic going forward, that is because it is currently just very issues related to fertility are just very artificially suppressed, kept hidden. It's taboo. Basically, there's a lot of silence about it, and there's also, frankly, a lot of delusions about it as well. There's this notion, that you can have kids whenever you want, and that is something that, young women professionals are told, you can have kids in your 40s, you name it, but the biological realities, they don't care about our preconceptions, our ideologies. So yes, there is definitively a very strongly negative relationship between age and fertility. So there's a lot of women who discover that, when they have become fully established and want to have a kid, they all of a sudden have tremendous problems. So this is a huge issue, and there's many companies, big companies that do their best to prevent, women from having kids, because that is against the company's interests, but that can have very, very dire consequences. So, but basically, what the point being here is that there will be a growing demand for infertility treatments and more broadly assisted reproduction, because this continuing delaying of pregnancy, it's a huge thing. Okay, so here is the stock chart. INVO is the ticker, and the chart behavior here is a bit, it's kind of been doing its thing, but I think you can see one of the interesting patterns, and that is that we could argue it's a bit messy, but we do have something that is a bit similar to an inverse head and shoulders pattern. That is a bullish technical pattern. As we see here, this stock can go on these absolutely explosive rallies when there's a catalyst. Now let's jump here to the daily data points. Yeah, so when we look here at these daily data points, you see here that we have the red 200-day moving average. It has been support. It also has been resistance, but basically this stock, it is reactive to that moving average. Another key moving average to pay attention to is the blue 100-day moving average. Test, support. Here we slip below, it becomes resistance, then it becomes support. Here we bounce. So we are goofing around a bit here when it comes to that moving average. So there is a risk that we could go down here to test the 200-day. So the price action of today will be rather important, because you see here that we are goofing around a bit too much below that support level, that is not ideal. But the stock is at, a relatively low level. So historically, speaking, and when you look like very long term, there's many reasons to be bullish on this theme, because this is a huge issue. There's so much denial when it comes to not simply reproduction, but biology broadly. There's some kind of the current zeitgeist is all about denying biological realities. But that is very artificial, and when you have these situations where a stock is impacted by something that is artificial, like an artificial zeitgeist, then that actually that's a lot of alpha in those kinds of situations. So yeah, it is a very interesting situation. When we look here at the seasonality, it gets even more interesting, because you see that June, the current month, is the strongest, both when it comes to the average performance, 27%. That is pretty significant. It does close higher 55% of the time. So that's very interesting, especially when you take into the account that June has not been, good so far. If you look here at Finviz, they draw these trend lines. You have support here. That's interesting. And here you can see, that explosive move where we go from around $3.50 and explode all the way up here to $12. Looking at the analyst target price, $5.88. That is significantly above the current price of the stock. That's a pointer for the bulls. When we go here to Sachs, so they have a number 3 hold, F value, degrowth, C momentum. The industry rank bottom 13%. They have it in the broad category of biomedical genetics. And I think this is something far more specific, and as they say here, they have focused on creating simplified, lower-cost treatment options for patients diagnosed with infertility. It engages in the development and manufacture of its lead product, INVO, a novel medical device used in infertility treatment that enables egg fertilization and early embryo development in the woman's vaginal cavity. Yeah, and the company is really small. I mean, this is $43 million US. And as I said, I do think, you could make a very strong case that number one, there obviously is a negative relationship between a woman's age in particular, but this also affects men, by the way, but especially the age of a woman and her fertility. They are negatively related. As the older the female becomes, the harder it will be for her to become pregnant. Given that we have an absolutely historically unprecedented amount of women who delay pregnancy in order to build their careers and become young professionals, we have this absolute huge mass of women who, many of them are aware of fertility issues, and even more will be aware of it in the future when they start having kids, and they in a very disheartening way learn about the very brutal realities of evolutionary biology, which has not changed over the those biological rules. They do not change based on our preferences, based on our culture, our politics, our ideology. They are set. They are in the DNA. They just do their thing, and they are very hard, objective realities. So yes, I do think that there will be a very high demand for assisted reproduction solutions in the future.